Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. My name is Charlotte Brennan. I am the Film Festival Coordinator for the Long Island Youth Film Festival. I just want to thank everybody again for coming out tonight and seeing all of our movies, but most importantly to all of the amazing filmmakers that submitted for this category and that were chosen to screen for documentaries. So I would love to have Jayden, Giorgio, Jayden, and Eric join me down here for a little filmmaker Q&A. Okay, before we get into the filmmaker Q&A, I just want to let everybody here know that inside of our beautiful programs that we have for this weekend's film festival, we have a little scoring sheet for an audience award for the film festival. So what everyone is going to do is pick their favorite film from the documentary short category as well as the narrative short category. We're going to have some little pencils outside of the theater. Oh, Ted is passing them around right now. Just mark down the documentary short that you enjoyed the most. If you're only going to be joining us tonight for the whole film festival, you can submit them right outside the theater as you're leaving. But if you're going to be joining us tomorrow for the narrative shorts, which I really recommend, we're just going to ask you to hold on to these tonight, bring them back tomorrow, watch all of the amazing narrative shorts that we have as a part of this festival, then choose your favorite for that category. On Sunday, right after the filmmakers panels, we are going to be announcing the audience winners as a part of this festival, which is a separate award from the main awards that we're going to be giving out. So thanks again for the filmmakers for joining us for this Q&A. So the way this is going to work is I'm just going to ask you guys a couple questions about your films, your filmmaking process, and then we're going to hand it over to the audience. I'm sure a lot of people here are really curious about all of these really amazing films that you have submitted. So before we get into that, I'd like you guys to just go down the line, say your name, and say the film that you created.
Giorgio, Citarella, I made JELLYFISH.
I'm Aiden Athanasio, and I made the Northport Picnic.
I'm Eric Patrick Cameron, I made the SPACEWESTERN Southwest. I'm Jayden Metellus, I made Two Sides of the Same Coin.
Okay, perfect. So my first questions are for Aiden. Your movie was about Jack Kerouac in Northport. The selection committee, we really, really loved it, especially because it felt so relevant to Long Island, which is a huge focus of our whole festival. And something that we really admired about the film was your choice to kind of structure the documentary as more of a personal essay rather than like the typical documentary tone and format that we see in a lot of other movies. So I would just like to hear a little bit about your the way that you came to that decision.
So first off, thank you for having me.
Of course.
Yeah, when I was making this documentary, I toyed a lot with how much of myself I wanted to include. And so this was a school project. This was my senior thesis film. So I would sit in my meetings with my advisors and we kind of go back and forth. And we kind of came to the conclusion that there's so much of myself in Northport and that it was such a strength to include myself because I had this additional insight into it. And I could kind of like put myself parallel to Kerouac. Although we're not very similar, we both shared the same space and I felt like that should have been included.
Totally. It like added a completely new layer to the film that I think would really have been missing if you didn't. So that was really excellent. And the other thing that you wrote about a little bit in your filmmaker statement when you entered your film into the festival was talking about your experience working with the Northport Historical Society to gather like a lot of the materials. So I'd love for you to just talk a little bit about how you decided to work with them, your experience.
Yeah, so I actually graduated with a film production and historical studies dual degree. And so I spent like 4 years looking in, these journals online, all of this historical, like hefty documents. And I really wanted for my senior project to do something that had to do with local history because I've been dealing with these big empires and all of this, but I really wanted to look into local history. And I found something so compelling with being able to do the work myself and going into my local historical society and looking in their archives and physically like going through photos and documents that they had there. And I really enjoyed that coming from like a historian perspective because I'm not really able to do that at school, having given all of these readings and things. I was able to do something that was rather personal. And being able to work with the Historical Society was great. They were so nice there. I really urge everybody to utilize their local historical societies. They're great people, they have great stories, and it's so powerful to learn your local history.
That's so amazing. Okay, thank you so much. I have a couple questions now for Giorgio, who created Jellyfish, another really, really amazing movie that we were really happy to showcase as a part of this festival. So something that the selection committee really, really loved about your film was the general style of it. The music was really cool, and the fact that it was filmed in black and white was really interesting. So I would just like for you to talk a little bit about how you came to that decision to show the film in black and white.
I guess stylistically, I was inspired a lot by the French New Wave. That was a period in time where the camera technology was just sort of catching up to these artists that they wanted to go out into the street and film. The thing was that film during that time, the least expensive form of film was black and white film. So a lot of these powerful pieces that came out of that time period came out of uh, came out in black and white. So I couldn't help but like be inspired by that, and I'm making a low budget film. I just felt like I wanted to sort of channel that artistic expression.
Yeah, that's so cool. Another thing that the selection committee really admired about your film was that there were some really great interviews in there. We felt that you really got your subjects to open up about some pretty intimate details of their lives and the ways that they felt that their lives were going and in really candid ways. So I would love for you to talk a little bit about how you guided and worked with your interviewees throughout the film.
Sure. So that's one of the most difficult things I found when you're making a documentary is to be able to get somebody to open up in front of the camera.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, the camera kind of acts as an inhibitor. You put it in front of them, and they're not able to fully express themselves the way that they are. Actually, I'll turn to my to another panelist. Two sides of the same coin. Like I was so impressed by the way that you were able to like guide your subjects and like let them be themselves in front of the camera. That sort of thing is that's very difficult to do. And then once you're actually out there, like trying to get it to happen, it's really a sense of you just kind of let the camera roll, and you know I'll turn back to the new wave documentary filmmaker, the Maisel brothers. Something that they would do was they would go into a scene and they would just keep rolling, and initially you would see that sort of like self awareness on your subject, but as they get used to the camera, that sort of melts away. And once that melts away, that's really what we as filmmakers, that's what we're trying to capture, that like authenticity. That's so hard to come by.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Okay, so next, Jayden, Two Sides of the Same Coin. Truly, truly remarkable film. We really, really enjoyed it. And one word that kept coming up when the selection committee was meeting was that this film feels so alive. Like we could feel Nadira as a person, um, and we couldn't really put our finger on how you did that. So I would just love to hear more about how you decided what style to put the film in. It was so unique, like nothing we've ever seen before, and how you were able to capture her as a person through this movie.
Hi, everyone. So the way that I managed to do that, I think I just really sat and really thought about like what's something that people want to express but don't know how to. And I feel like everyone wants to be the main character. They always want to be the person that's under the spotlight. They want to like be the center of attention without really wanting to be the center of attention. So I was just like, just be yourself. After the camera's not there, you're just talking, you know. And the essence of the film was like just have a conversation as if you're talking to one person, and then everything just came to be. She just started talking. I didn't
really do too much with the film. One thing I did do, I referenced, like, the big reference of the film was this one episode from Euphoria, and it was with, I think her name is Jules, and she was at a therapist appointment, and she was just talking, and it was just so authentic, it was so real, it was like, I don't see it.
Yeah.
The authenticity, I just don't see it. So I was like, let me use that and add it to this film. And it was hard to do because, you know, it's like, how do you make a film feel real? And I was just like, made so many scripts and so many different things, and I just threw it all out. I was like, fuck it. So then I started talking to the mic, and she was just talking. And
Yeah.
and the cinematography and everything just kind of explained the story, and it became what it was today.
Yeah, that's so amazing. You definitely achieved that. The audience could feel it a lot. Okay, next, Eric. Really great film. Really enjoyed it. Um, Something that I would love to hear about is how you found yourself in Dingle, Ireland. It wasn't super clear to me through the movie if you traveled to there to find the Star Wars set, or if you ended up there for other reasons and sort of discovered that you were in this Star Wars filming location. So it's kind of a two-part question. How did you get to Dingle? How did you find yourself there? And then how did you choose this specific topic to create a film about?
Well, I totally would have gone to Dingle
Yeah.
just normally, but it was part of a study abroad program I did in undergrad.
Okay.
Sacred Heart University of Connecticut, they have a satellite campus in Dingle, and their program is open to anyone in undergrad, so like in any university. So if anyone here is still in undergrad and you want to go to where I was, just shoot them an email, and they'll help you out. Financial aid transfers over, American financial aid. So that's how but that was also like a huge part of why I decided to choose that university for undergrad
Mm-hmm.
is like when I was doing research, I knew I wanted to study abroad because I'd never been abroad. And they just had an amazing program. And as soon as they said it was in Dingle,
You knew.
I'm sold.
Yeah.
I'm sold. When I got there, I was so taken aback by just how beautiful the area is, the town, just everyone is so nice. It's genuinely the happiest place on earth. So I knew I wanted to do something. And I started, I come from a narrative background. So initially, like I was immediately thinking of ideas, trying to do outlines, some scripts, like I had actor friends that were there with me. But nothing kind of came together the way I wanted it to, and it just would have been too expensive and too much time wise. So I figured, you know what? Star Wars has been such a huge part of me. Why not? And I have so many amazing shots from Dingle just casually. I befriended so many people that have a connection to when they were filming in Dingle. I figured, why not just make a documentary about that?
Yeah.
And a lot of people didn't know that they shot on the mainland. They just know, okay, Skelly Michael, that's the island that it takes place in the movie. That's where they filmed it. No, they really only shot for a couple of days on Skelly. So this was trying to shine light that like there's more to just Star Wars in Ireland than Skelly.
Yeah.
It's a huge town and it's a beautiful place.
Yeah, that's really cool. Something else that I wanted to ask you about is in the filmmakers notes that you submitted for the festival, you said that this was a 2-year long project that you worked on, and there were some difficulties that you had to overcome, but ultimately you stuck with the project and you endured. So I would just love to hear about like what the biggest issues that you faced working on the film were, how you overcame it, and why you decided to sort of follow through and create the movie that you did.
Well, I started pre-production in February of 22, like the first or second week of February. And the very first thing I did was email Ryan Johnson's publicist
Yeah.
and be like, "Hey, I'm doing this movie in Dingle. It's about Star Wars, and keeping very neutral.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love an interview, whether it's on Zoom, email, like whatever. I just want to ask a few questions." Um, for anyone that ever wants to make a documentary, don't go through the publicist because they'll either ghost you or they'll say there's a
time, a scheduling conflict. That's their go-to phrase. And
Yeah.
it's usually 4 words. It's like not available, scheduling conflict. So like I guess that was in February. I was leaving in May. So for the next number of months, I just kind of focused on making the story without his input. And I reached out to other publicists of other people who also either ghosted me or told me no.
Yeah.
But it was coming together, and I liked that it was coming together. As I was piecing it together, I still felt like something was missing.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're at like June of 22, and I take a number of months off because it was just too stressful. I had no clue how the hell I wanted to restructure the story. And then November of 22 came around, and I met Ryan, and I kind of pitched it to him, and he said, I'd love to do it. We'll set something up. And then 2 months later, we got the interview, and I was able to. He really was the missing piece of the puzzle. Like, there were a number of. I can't imagine having it come out the way it came out without his input. So that was a huge challenge. And then like all the other big challenges you see are, getting onto Skellig.
Yeah, right.
I had to again like the time constraint. I was I went back to Dingle to premiere it that spring. Not a rough cut, but like this cut was finished, whenever December of a few months ago, almost a year ago. So there was a cut that premiered in April, May of 23 in Ireland, and the time constraint to get it done and to get it polished for that was so exhausting. Never want to do it again. So many sleepless nights, too much caffeine.
Yeah.
Don't recommend it. But it got done.
Yeah. Did you get any feedback from the people of Dingle?
They were really happy that their town was being showcased.
Yeah.
And their story was being told. They get a lot of people visiting there. And Star Wars, like you see, it's a huge part of the town. There's a lot of gift shops with Star Wars stuff. It's a very dangerous place for someone like me.
Yeah.
A little bit compulsive with that. Yeah, they really liked it.
That's awesome. So how were you able to meet Rian Johnson?
He was promoting Glass Onions, and I met people in the city, and like I even without a plan, I was just gonna go because I adore those movies. And every movie he's done, I'm a huge fan of, so I was just gonna go to support. And then it was just an opportunity to meet him. No one was really like going up to him. It just felt right. And I pitched it to him. I gave him a poster. Speaking of which, there are posters if anyone wants them. I have too many leftovers, and I just want to get rid of them. So if anyone wants a poster, they're outside. Find me. And I gave him a poster, and he said, "Okay, email my posters back and tell her I said that we're gonna make it happen."
That's incredible. That is awesome. So we are now going to open it up to questions from the audience. If you have a question, just raise your hand, and our friend Scarlett will come over with the microphone.
I just want to say something before we hear this guy talk.
Yeah.
Who here loved the music in Space Western? This is my composer, my dear friend Paul Richard Keegan. Stand up.
No, it's about you guys, and that's what I wanted to say was thank you guys for submitting these movies. I had a great time watching all of them, but they were all so stylistically different. So I was just wondering if there was a moment for everyone as a filmmaker, a moment where you say this is what I want to do, or what inspires you to keep making movies, or all that stuff. I would just love to know if you can pinpoint a specific moment that made you say I want to do this, or that helps you keep going. I would just love to know.
That's a really good question. The one thing that pushes me to keep making films, I feel like in life, there's so many different things that happen. I don't know if you've ever heard the phrase where it's like, one thing my brother always says is like, I feel like a drunk man wrote my life. It feels like a movie. So I was like, I'm just gonna make movies. I feel like growing up in elementary school, my teachers always like, books are better than movies. But I feel like they never really understood the power of like films, you know? They can really visualize things that your mind can wander off on. And once you like create like a stamped image of what it is you're talking about, it leaves a mark. And I've always wanted to do that. I always wanted to leave a mark of in some type of way. So that's why I keep making films.
First, I just want to say, very humble of you to kind of like not stand up. Audio and video, they're married together to tell a story. So, I think your part was just as much as his part. Like, if it was bad sound, who's gonna nobody, but no,
That's why you get second billing.
ouch. But no, I'm very driven to tell stories just because I guess I want to try to capture something that's like honest or something that I wouldn't see like a big commercial movie necessarily capture. I just want to try to tell stories that maybe wouldn't necessarily be told or wouldn't necessarily represent me. So that initial year after college, I felt like no one was really addressing that in a way that I would address that. So I figured, if no one's doing it, I might as well do it my way, and you saw it.
I think a big thing when I started making my film was, well, I had the choice of I could do a film and I could have done like a historical paper. I decided to combine the two because I've become very passionate about finding different modes of showcasing history. I find that like these long, like drawn out, like historical journals, while they're so important and they carry so much important information, they're not very accessible. They're kind of written under, they're written for other historians, and I really like finding out different ways to present information so that everybody can enjoy them.
I think what keeps me going is just watching a lot of great movies. I rewatched Whiplash yesterday, the 10th anniversary, which is it was in a theater, one of the best movies of the last 10 years. And I love it dearly, and Damien Chazelle is a mastermind at everything he does. But one of the first things I thought of when it ended last night was that, man, how does anyone beat this? Like, it is just so good that how does it get better? And I realized, well, that's kind of the point of the movie, is that I'm not going to spoil anything for anyone that hasn't seen it, but J.K. Simmons' character, is this abusive band instructor. I'm putting that in quotes. And Miles Teller is one of his students, and he asks him in this brilliant, just a dialogue scene, do you think the next Charlie Parker would ever be discouraged? Meaning, like, do you think the next great artist would ever be discouraged by someone pushing you to be better and better and better? And he says the next Charlie Parker wouldn't be discouraged. So it kind of makes me think, like, if you never stop making movies, you might make it. You might be good. But if you stop, if you become discouraged, then that's the period at the end of the sentence. I think back to a story Spielberg told. He said when he saw Lawrence of Arabia for the first time when he was 16, he said he took a break from making movies. He said, I am never going to make a movie that good. I don't think I need to explain what happens next. But, so that's just what keeps me going, is just loving movies.
Okay, do we have another question for the filmmakers?
Two questions. How old are all of you guys?
22, 24.
22.
19. Very respectable. I love that. And the second question I have for you guys is, especially Jellyfish, was that your song at the end?
So that song was like the genesis of the whole movie. My friend Maxim, he was in my living room, and he was just playing guitar. He was like humming along, like what are you singing? He was like, oh, he was like being quiet, kind of coy about it. I was like, dude, like play the song, and he played the song, and it was ingrained in my head. This was like I want to say February 2022. I graduated in May, and like it was still stuck in my head. Like I was still thinking about it, and he never released it or anything. Like he just like had it to himself. Like, man, you gotta send me this song. Like I can't stop thinking about it. Like I want to do something with it. And the whole idea of a jellyfish, you know, of like floating in the sea, kind of being free. Like for me, that's kind of like what everybody aspires to, like in adulthood. Like you want to have that freedom. You want to like go with the flow and like be yourself. And I didn't feel that initially when I graduated. I was like, how am I ever going to get to that, like to be free in the ocean? And that's one of the reasons where I chose to end the film with like the jellyfish is kind of like dried up on the beach, like dying. That's kind of how I felt graduating from college. It's like I'm laid out in the sun, like drying out to die. Like what's gonna happen next? And maybe in like 10 years. Initially, I wanted to follow up in 10 years and see where everybody is. And the shot that I cut the color, and it would be like a jellyfish like in an aquarium or something. Like now, where's everybody? So you gotta stay tuned. I gotta do that eventually.
I love the way you I love the way you connected that. That brings me to my question on music, because I make music myself, and I feel like music and film go hand in hand, right? How important is that connection to you guys when making the film? It's a really, really, I think it's essential. Like, if you make a film that just has like um, bad music, in my opinion, it's just like it's missing that empathy, you know. Like everyone's film here, no matter what sound they use, it all had like a purpose to it. Um, and it made the film stronger than it was. Um, like back in the day, there's this film called Metropolis. It was made in like 19.
It's like
Yeah, it's fine. It's strictly just sound. I mean, just like dialogue, and it's written dialogue, it goes to it. And if that film was just mute, it's just like you're just looking at pictures, just moving pictures. It's boring. But the sound adds the power to the film. So yeah, they go hand in hand.
Love the question because it lets me compliment my amazing composer more. I think the only reason why I can like actually tolerate watching this movie is because of the music. It's Paul did genuinely a mind-bogglingly amazing good job, and I feel like if you didn't tell someone that Paul composed that, they would probably think it was John Williams. Like it just sounds so Star Wars, and we worked so well together. It really just came about because I would, he didn't score for picture like his what is yeah. I guess there's a Steve Miller song in the beginning and there's a Thin Lizzy song at the end, but everything else, all the score is Paul, and he wasn't scoring for picture, which is what the common practice is. So it made his job a hell of a lot harder. I would just text him, "Hey, I need a Cantina song," or "I need a theme and whatever," and he would do it, and it would sound pretty amazing. Music has always been a huge part of my life. I'm a like one of my I think I would if I had to say a favorite genre, it would be musicals. Not just kind of classical musicals, but all kinds of musicals. And I think there's something that like the silent era is fantastic, but when sound came around, that was one of the beauties is that if you watch a silent film in a theater, there would be music, there would be organs, but you want to use the music to your advantage. It's a tool. So when if the whole thing is driven by music, and then there's a moment of silence, it's speaking something. It's saying something. And there isn't a whole lot of moments of silence in this, but when there is, I kind of wanted to shift tonal gears in that way. So yeah, for me, I don't think I would ever make a movie without music. I don't think I could do it.
Yeah, well, sound makes or breaks a film. We call them silent movies. they were never really silent. There was always like the organ or the piano in the theater. Like, what are Charlie Chaplin's films going to be without the music? Like, that was such a huge part of it. For my film specifically, I chose to use more like soundscapes to kind of like immerse Northport, whether it was the sound of the waves, the sound of like clinking glasses at the bar, to kind of really create the space of Northport.
I don't really have anything to say.
Okay, great. We have another question for the filmmakers.
Hi, so I'm also a filmmaker. My film's in tomorrow's program. And I make narrative films, and I think something about that for me that like, I don't know, like I plan so much of my films before I like set out to make them. And I feel like with all these films, like the, documentary category, it's like there's this extemporaneous quality to it. Like once you get out there, like there's always an element of like you can plan your questions, you can plan shot for shot, but like you never know what someone's gonna say, like you never know what someone's gonna like do, or there's always that like quality to it. Do you ever feel like it's hard not to like veer off course, like never knowing where it's gonna go? Like how do you stick to like a plan, or like do you not?
I think I can answer this. For me, I had one question that I wanted to answer, and it was how has the reality of life after college compared to the expectations you had while in college? So I thought of that question was basically think of like a string, and all my interviews, any footage I got, it's kind of like a pearl. If that pearl didn't fit on the string, then it wouldn't go on the necklace. That checks out.
For me, I definitely had my Google Doc. I had my plan set out, but then a lot of it was kind of spur of the moment. Like I would be driving with my friend, or like pull over right now. Look at this sunset. We need to get something here. Um, and I think that's also me. I try to plan as much as I can, but obviously I leave like space just for these, happenstance.
I think I'm in my head too much. That's really what it is. Like I'm just always thinking, like, oh, this would look nice, and then I just shoot it. And like for this film that I made, two sides of the same coin. We had 3 shoot days, and each day I was thinking of one thing, and it never went to plan. Like it was just always something. Like, but the idea of just thinking, hey, it's a film. Let me make something that people can connect to. Like screw everything that doesn't go well. Everything's gonna stress you out. Post production, creative treatments, and all these other things. It's so like nerve wracking and stressful. But end of the day, it's like the camera's your best friend. I just see it as like an eye that can do things that this head of yours can't really do. You can twirl it, you can throw it in the air, you can do so much, and it's like that is what I think just helps with things I'm thinking about here. But yeah, I hope that answered your question.
It definitely did.
I'm kind of like you. I like to plan everything, which is why this was like my first real documentary, and will probably be my last. I'm going back to narrative because I mean I'm a meticulous planner when it comes to everything. I don't necessarily need to have a storyboard, but I always like a little bit of storyboard. I need a shot list. I need a script. I need actors. I need to feel like the thing that I'm making I have control over. And with documentary, everything is changing all the time. You never like. I think when I started pre-pro on this, I never would have expected any of it to have gone the way it went. Wouldn't have expected the, the shitty boat conditions and all of these different travel things happening. Like, I'm someone that needs a plan, but I think as I was making this, I needed to just tell myself just what problem came up, how do I fix it? And if there's no solution, there's no problem. I mean, it got me through. Or maybe there were problems, but like if you can't figure out the solution, then it's not a problem either way. So I think that's what I kept telling myself, and that's how like I was able to finish it. And if I didn't tell myself that, I wouldn't be here.
Did you guys have an ending in mind when you started? Did you find it along the way?
When I had that, when I shot that final shot overlooking the Skellig Islands, that I knew was going to be my last shot, my poster, everything. Because I was, and that was a hard one to get too, because I was on my B camera, because my A camera died. But it ended up looking okay. So that was the only thing I knew how it was going to end. I think once everything was shot, I had an idea. Like I knew I was going to break it up into chapters, or else I wouldn't have been able to wrap my brain around it. The original plan was to release it episode by episode just on YouTube, and I dropped the first episode, and no one really watched it. So that was when I took like those 6 months or whatever to just figure out, okay, how can I make this better? So I mean, no, I don't really know if I had a real. I didn't have an ending in mind like in February, March, April, or anything. I think by May, I was like, I know what this is going.
I think I knew once I finished my research. I spent a semester researching, and I think it kind of like turned once I found those audios. I had to listen to 6+ hours of Jack Kerouac and his friends drunk, talking about literally everything that I could not care less about. And then I'm like, it's like midnight, I'm in the library, and then he starts to talk about North Fork, and I'm like, yes, like this was golden. It was such a great time. And that really like set my course for how the rest of the film would turn out.
I didn't have an ending. I couldn't think of one. I kind of just did it. And what it really was, one thing about Nadira is she likes to dance. And I was like, you should help your code dance teacher. So she hit her up, and then sister sent a voice memo, and then I was like, hey, let's just use that. Because I felt like it retied everything back to square one. And I was like, and it came out great, and I liked it.
Yeah, I really liked your film.
Okay, we have another question.
Hello. This question is specifically for Jayden, who made two sides of the same coin. I have always been like super drawn to cinematography and just the art of like what you're putting on the screen and how you're conveying it. And I think it's so powerful. And your film was so unbelievably expressive with all of the interesting experimentation and everything that you put into how you created this like emotional landscape through your film and really brought everyone into like this world. I was wondering if you could like speak to it all, the cinematography or the sound design, specifically like how you built that.
Well, I don't know if this is crazy or not. This is like first documentary film. Yeah. And I didn't know how to shoot it. I had an iPhone. I'll never show an iPhone. I used the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and yeah, it has wonders of it. But the way I shot it, I really sat down planning. Like one of my favorite movies is Interstellar, and the reason I like Interstellar so much, although it might be like cliche or something, like everyone was just like, "Oh, it's a basic movie." I love this so much because it's like the cinematography is what reels you in. You know, it's like um, your eyes like colors, complementary, analogous, all that different stuff. So I was like, let me use a bunch of different colors that kind of like express different moods. And um, whenever I felt like I didn't have the words to say something, I let the visuals do my job. and that's how I created sections in the film, and it all said something. She was mad, or she was like kind of like angry at herself. Really, I used a lot of red and like purple, specifically red though, to really show the intensity. And then when I showed like a lot of like loneliness, sadness, and confusion, I used blue. And in that one scene with Who Am I used really dark blue and a lot of like shadows. It might have looked like underexposed, but that was intentional because I wanted to show like, some type of loneliness. Like she was trying to figure out who she was, but she didn't really know who she was. No one around her knew who she was. And you felt that. It was like, ooh, this feels weird. And then I shifted it at the end because it was like, who are you? And it was like, she's kind of knowing herself, but she doesn't. And I just wanted to reel all that back into something big. So, um, yeah, is that answering your question? I think
Yeah.
it is.
Yes.
Okay, okay,
Yes.
yeah. So, it was pretty eventful. There was so many different things that I did in that film, and colors, 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 colors. I can't stress enough. It's so important for stuff like that.
You saw.
If you could reinvent the wheel, what shape would it be?
Is that a riddle?
No, that's just me being neurodiverse. Yeah. Promise I'm not trolling.
Wheel on a car?
Yes.
The tire or the steering wheel?
Yes.
I'm gonna go with the steering wheel. If I could reinvent it, I would make it like a U shape. Like how the F1 drivers are, something like that. And it'd be more ergonomic because it's better like that. I don't want the big steering wheel. Do what what should I do on that? I could drive with that.
But whatever shape Lion Paul can do, I'll go with that. Stay game.
I'll go with an octagon. No, that's a solid shape, right? Oh, that's a good one? Yeah.
Okay, so I got a question before your question. Has the wheel been invented in this like hypothetical? Like, does it exist?
Is there a right answer?
There are many answers.
If the wheel hasn't been invented, I'd invent the wheel.
Okay, we want to move on to the next question, maybe. This is the last question, by the way. I think it's good. We only have one left.
My question is, how old were you when you first started, and what was your first project ever? And
How old was I? Okay, trip down memory lane. I started making YouTube videos when I was in sixth grade. That's what all this thing started. I was making like robot videos and whatnot. I was like, screw that. My first ever film was over here. Hey, made a film with him. It was for my AP psychology class, and it was like talk about mental health and depression and whatnot. So I was like, there's something like hers, either a history paper, historical paper, or a video. I was like, a video, and it was called Bobby, and it was like I wanted to juxtapose life in and out of school, and this was like my first film, and the teacher showed it to the class, and people cried to this film. So I was like people cried to films, my films. Because I was like, I can do this stuff. And then literally after that, I made this, and I made smaller stuff, but it was like small projects. But this was like my second biggest project, and how old was I? 18. I was like a freshman in college. Yeah, first semester. First semester, right? Yeah, so first semester. And never stopped since then. So
I think I made my first film in high school. I used to shoot videos. My sister is over here. Right? Um, but they weren't anything serious. There's no narrative structure or anything like that. It was just like filming and no real cause. Or it wasn't until I got to college where my focus switched to documentary after seeing so many documentaries where I was interested in telling a story that was able to have some sort of social impact, that'd be able to like either create conversation or lead to some sort of change. And I made a documentary, a series of unsolved killings in Washington, D.C. It was a serial killer. So I won't go long into that process, but I ended up getting a student Emmy for that. You know, it made me feel good that I was able to tell a story about something that affected people, and from there on, I kind of realized I didn't want to tell sort of true crime stories just because I didn't like the world. I thought it was too dark. I felt it was kind of like I was kind of scared. Just even like I would have to like talk to like the people involved and all that. I just realized like there's other ways to tell stories that create change without putting myself in danger.
I had always loved film and just making things, whether it was just like iMovies with my brothers or does anyone remember Video Star? I used to make those in middle school with my friends that make like little music videos, a bunch of filters. Those were always fun. But I guess I really started when I got to college, and I kind of fell into documentary because I really loved telling people's stories. I didn't really make anything as big as this film, but I had always had, I'd taken a lot of documentary classes and really just highlighted a lot of my friends and had made a bunch of things like about them. Like one of my best friends at the time, she was really into Taylor Swift, and I kind of didn't understand it really. So I kind of interviewed her, and I kind of like made me learn more about her and Taylor Swift and how I don't know how that connected. And I just ended up making a bunch of small films about people at school and just really loved it.
I didn't start making movies when I was 4, but when I was 4, I went to Disney World. And if anyone's familiar with the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular, it's a live stage show where they stage all of the epic stunts from Raiders of the Lost Ark, and they have stunt doubles, and they have actors playing camera operators and ADs and everything. So it was the first time I ever saw what a working film set looked like, and I knew like right then and there I'm gonna do something with making movies. I didn't know what it would be, but I knew it was gonna be something. And then when I was 9, my mom got me an iPod Touch for my birthday, and that was the first time I'd like ever had access to a camera. So I would make stop motions with my Legos and my toys, and then I think when I was like 12 or 13, I started getting into getting friends and doing film camps and becoming more serious about it. But it just shows you the power of what's in your pocket. Anyone can make a movie, and they're so much better now. Like you made that on a 15 Pro Max. I've been telling people, like before the 15 Pro Max came out, I was kind of like, I don't know if it's gonna look great on an iPhone. And the 15 Pro Max comes out, and I'm like, oh my god, it looks just like a consumer cinema camera, especially if you use the Blackmagic app. It's absolutely phenomenal. I mean, you can't even tell a difference sometimes. So yeah, I started with an iPod, and anyone can start with what's in their pockets.
Great, thank you so much. Do you want to say something else? Okay, go right ahead.
One thing I really like influenced me making films. Back to what you were saying, just filming anything. Like aside from all the YouTube stuff, I think the biggest thing was like, what was it? I think it was 12th grade. I got like a VHS camera, one of those mini DV ones, and I just started making skate videos with them. Just like, let's just go around, just making fun stuff. And I was like let me make some edits with this. And then we just started making a bunch of, like, think of like 20 minutes in like a skate park or something. And I was like, maybe I can expand on something bigger than some skate parks that I made with my friends. And yeah, I'm here today.
Okay, thank you so much to all 4 filmmakers for joining us tonight and for answering our questions. So as a reminder to the audience, we do have the audience choice ballot, but if you're not going to be joining us tomorrow, please fill it out now and submit it at the door. But we really do hope that all of you are going to be able to join us tomorrow right here at the cinema. The first block of narrative short films starts at 4 p.m. right in here in Cinema 1. And we are going to be having an opening night reception right in the cafe by the door. Right after this, we have some music, we have some snacks. It's going to be a really good time. And if anybody has any additional questions for the filmmakers, they might be there and you might have another opportunity. So thanks so much again to the filmmakers. Thank you for the audience for joining us and have a great night.